Hello, all. This will be our last debate for the city council chairs. Again, for protocol, the timekeeper will apprise candidates when they have 15 seconds left of their allotted time, and a red colored stop sign will be displayed to apprise candidates that their time has expired. Due to the limited time we have allocated for tonight's debate, I ask all candidates not to exceed their allotted time period. As the saying goes, less is more. Should a candidate go beyond their time period, the moderators and timekeeper have the debate sponsor's permission to interrupt him or her, move on to the next question or rebuttal, debate, or discussion opportunity, and if necessary, penalize the candidate's time the next time he is asked to respond to a question. All questions to be asked came from residents of Waterloo. Sponsor representatives have been assigned to review all questions submitted by residents of Waterloo and have given our moderators the questions to ask. Due to the professional background of our moderators, they have been given the privilege to modify questions for clarity's sake should they so desire. Each of the 8 city council candidates will be allotted 90 seconds for their opening remark, 1 minute for their closing statement, and we ask them to keep responses to debate questions in 60 seconds or less. With our condensed schedule, less is more. Should any candidate want to make a rebuttal comment, he will be limited to 30 seconds to make their case. Moderators have the permission to stop the rebuttal commentary if they feel the issue has sufficiently been aired. Each of the 11 Waterloo residents seeking public office were mailed as well as emailed the debate schedule and debate protocol I just shared with you. Let's begin our debate with candidates for our at-large. We will have Dennis Halverson and Rob Nichols.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening. Thank you both. We'll start with opening statements. Mr. Nichols.
Thank you. And first off, I just want to thank the sponsors for putting this on and really providing an opportunity for civic engagement. So my name's Rob Nichols. I am a pharmacist at Greenwood Pharmacy here in Waterloo. Originally from Ottumwa, Iowa, I came to live in Waterloo through Wartburg College, where I went to play football, and I earned my bachelor's degree in business management. From there, I went on to earn my doctor of pharmacy degree at the University of Iowa. And it was as a student at the University of Iowa that I met Bob Greenwood as a pharmacy intern. And Bob Greenwood, he's a local pharmacist, former city councilman, and he's one guy. I learned through him that one can have such a big impact on their community in the way that they serve that community. And so that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that in everything that I do on all my priorities as a city councilman, that I'm making sure that people know that Waterloo is a place that you can come, live, and thrive.
Thank you. Mr. Halverson.
Hello, and thank you for inviting us to this debate discussion. I'm Dennis Halverson. I was born and raised here in Waterloo, Iowa. I graduated from East High. And right out of high school, I went to the Marine Corps, and then I came back to Waterloo to raise a family. We had great schools. We had low crime, fairly low taxes, and we had a really good entertainment in the town. And it was a good place to be overall for everybody. I'm running for council because I wanted to be involved in something that I can have a direct impact on the people that I interact with daily, and at the same time be directly accountable to those same people that I'm going to meet in person. And that's kind of why I kind of refer to Waterloo as the largest small town in Iowa, because it has that small town feel. I know we're from some of the city, but I work here. I've owned businesses here. I've promoted events. I've entertained in this town, and to me, serving at that large position means you have to have kind of a pulse of what the city is all about, and relating and finding solutions for the people of Waterloo, for all of Waterloo, as one Waterloo. I'm an advocate for budget accountability, lower taxes, parks and recreation, and I also understand that law enforcement and public safety are the cornerstones of what make any municipality successful. And without it, with any kind of budgeting or any kind of money spent or good ideas, you will not get the success you want out of a city without that.
Thank you. First question, what is your plan of action for your first 90 days in office? We'll start with you, Mr. Alverson.
All right, my first plan of action is the same thing I've been doing for the last 120 days, getting information from people in the town of what affects them the most. And that's been really helpful. We were just talking about that just before we started here, was getting out talking to people and extracting those issues that affect people daily. And that's some of the community organizations, that's some of the best information to get to people that are right there. So that's what I will continue. And then, of course, once I get diving into more of the budget and the spending and kind of get that under control, that's one of my big things right there.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols.
Yeah, so yes, and talking to people who are in there doing the jobs, that's one of the things I want to continue to do. I've been getting out, talking to the Main Street people, talking to law enforcement, talking to people in the different city departments like community development, because I want to know how we can be actionable on some of my priorities. And so just speaking of one of my biggest priorities, home ownership, I want to make sure that we can make sure that we're decreasing the barriers to getting people into home ownership opportunities. It's very personal for me. When I grew up in many rental houses. There would be times where it would be in a rental house, the next rental house, we'd be living in a women's shelter, and it's often with landlords that didn't really care about the upkeep of the places that we were living. So, as I continue in those first 90 days, I want to make sure that we can really have an impact on those things that are most near and dear to me, and everybody else everybody else.
Thank you.
What do you see as the single most pressing issue in Waterloo?
I think it's housing for me. I think it's really housing. You see some of our neighborhoods that have really been left behind, and I think there's an opportunity for that, opportunity to make our neighborhoods look better, but then also an opportunity to build some pride in the people of our community, an opportunity for people to build wealth. There is, when I got to Waterloo, I was finally able to purchase my first house. I talked just briefly about my history and my upbringing, but I was able to buy my first house, and I got to realize the value, finally, of paying myself to live somewhere versus in building equity and building value and learning about the value that equity can bring me rather than paying somebody else. So I really think that's one of the big things that I'm going to be working on to see what we can maximize in that way.
Thank you. Mr. Halverson?
Get out and talk to people. Some of the biggest issues they have, and one of the biggest issues that from people that have moved out of Waterloo are taxes. And we have some of the highest taxes Blackhawk County of anywhere. They move out of Blackhawk County to avoid that. Some taxes just outside the county are half of what they are here. And yet some of these smaller cities are seen to be getting plenty of the services that they need. So that's one big issue. Another one is infrastructure in the town. I know a lot of people feel that roads aren't that great and their infrastructure isn't that great. We need to really catch up on that whole thing. And another one is the rising crime. And with as much crime that's going on in the town, we have some of the busiest police departments ever. Anyway, if we take care of those issues, I think that's we're going to go a long ways to attracting business as well.
Thank you.
We'll get to your concerns for the Waterloo Police Department in a moment, but first we wanted to ask about the budget. Please tell us what major purchases or expenditures for the police department have come up in the last couple of years, and if you would have voted for them. We'll start with you, Mr. Alverson.
Okay. Well, it's been brought up as well, and talking to some of the officers here. The body cam issue came up. We spent like $4 million on it, and I think at the time they were looking at a less expensive version of it that all the other departments use around here with great success. I can't say whether I would have voted for it or not for it. I'd go off the recommendation of the police department if that's something they really need and if that fits our budget and our constraints of what we have to spend.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols.
Yeah, I think there's some fire engine that we were able to purchase that was a very hefty expenditure, but I believe it was a good purchase because if you look at the response times of our fire department, we're boasting 4.5 minutes for an engine to get to an emergency. We're boasting 4 minutes for an EMS to get there. So we're responsive. We're able to do that. You mentioned the body cameras. I think that was also a great idea and something that law enforcement, at least in the ride-alongs that I've been that I've been on, they said that that was great. The updated body cameras, the automaticity of the body cameras. So when you take, if you have to pull out your taser, body camera automatically clicks on and rewinds 30 seconds. So you have all of that information. Also, if you open the car door, body camera clicks on. It takes away having to think about doing these things, and it provides protection for the community and protection for law enforcement. So I think those were great things. Good things.
Thank you.
So all of these expenditures for public safety, and including the union contracts, which Waterloo is legally required to meet, account for 80% of Waterloo's budget. How would you propose cutting taxes when 80% of the budget we are kind of legally obligated to spend on public safety?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I don't know that cutting taxes is going to be the answer. I don't think it's a possibility because of the things that you just mentioned. I think where we could focus our attention is building our base, whether that be by attracting businesses to come here, by building up our small businesses, by putting those businesses into storefronts. I think we can do some, do some good there. I've also learned more recently about some of the TIF contracts and the TIF districts that we had. I think there's some things that I need to learn a little bit more, but I think there's some things we can do around sunsetting those or making sure we're maximizing the benefit that are coming from our TIF partnerships.
Thank you. Same question.
Did you turn my mic off? Right there. I think there's plenty of opportunity in the budget, and I've heard quite a bit tonight where I've several times where they say it can't be done. It can't be. Well, an old saying from our family is those who say it can't be done ain't going to do it. So there is room. We need to find out where our tax revenues are not coming from and look for those opportunities and find out why is this. Maybe we need to audit right away to find out what's going on. Why is Waterloo, of all places, not making that much money, and why are we so strapped at our budget? So I think there are opportunities out there. We just need to find them, and I think they are there.
And then how will you address the concerns within the police department in Waterloo currently? Start with you, Mr. Halverson.
Well, with a lot of the concerns, they were all we've heard from the police department. We've heard from people that have retired, people that have resigned. So those reasons right there, those seem to be pretty big issues. So we need to find those things out, and we need to kind of dig into it. We need to have those conversations, and it's like I said, the answers are there. So are they still going on? When did they start? The people that are in now, are they having these same problems? And how can we sit down and have that discussion and find out what's going on? We need to learn about it more. And I think we have a really good start with what we got from that letter. We have a really good place to start with.
Same question, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you. So when I talk to different stakeholders within the police department, it tends to continue to come back to communication. I think there's a lot of more support for the police chief than you normally hear in the public, and if I think it's going to be able to be solved internally. It's going to take some work, some communication, but I think the chief is already starting to do that, and if he continues to communicate, continues to find those opportunities to get to know the different law enforcement, I think you'll see the national narrative, or the local narrative change, because at the very beginning, no matter if it's a current law enforcement or if it's a former law enforcement that I've talked to, they said, Joel is our guy. When we were picking a police chief, that was our guy. And he's smart, and we believe he can do the job. So I think it's just going to take some communication on both sides. And it's going to take courage to step across and be willing to have that conversation and dialogue.
Thank you.
Would you please address the 24/7 Wall Street report that states Waterloo is the worst place for Black people to live, and what will you do to improve the issue?
Yeah, so that was hard. That was hard. It made me feel ashamed of where I was living. But immediately, After that, I felt a dissonance because here I am, a successful black man. I'm a pharmacist living in the place that's the worst place for black people to live. So immediately I was like, all right, I'm getting more involved than I already am. I'm going to be getting out there. I'm going to be participating in Black Men Read Week. I'm going to be making sure that I'm putting myself in front of our youth to make sure they know that there is opportunity for them. And if they have any questions about anything on how to become a pharmacist, on applying to college, you can talk to me. One of the things that I did during the pandemic is we were doing a lot of COVID shot clinics for businesses. And what I noticed is there weren't a lot of Black-owned businesses that we were partnering with. So I made a point from an equity standpoint to reach out to those Black-owned businesses and offer to come out and provide COVID shots to them so that they knew that that opportunity was there for them as well. And it was very successful and very well received.
That study, truly heartbreaking. It's overall. I mean, to hear that, and like in the city that you've been living in one of the most diverse cities that anywhere, especially in Iowa, that's actually a case. So we definitely need to have some conversations to find out why. Why do people feel this way? Is it a certain area of town where they feel a certain way because they don't have infrastructure, they don't have opportunity, they don't have businesses? Do we need to build those certain areas up? What are they missing out on? And we need to address that as city management. You have to address that. So if there's any part of your population or area of town that feels disadvantaged, you have to find out why. Have the conversation, have the group settings, and get that realization.
And what is your plan to help businesses and residents recover from COVID-19, Mr. Halverson?
Well, I think one thing's already been done as far as statewide, not paying people more to stay home than they are to go to work, but that should hopefully generate some more people going back to work. As far as people going back to work and the shortages of labor, that's kind of your guess as good as mine why they're not doing it. We do need to figure that out. I know it was brought up here earlier today, but promoting local businesses and letting people know what places have to offer, what places are hiring, and what new businesses are coming into town will go a long way for people to be able to find a place that fits what they want in their lifestyle, or what their qualifications are, what their expertise are.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols.
So I think for me, this is a two-pronged approach. We have to make sure we're focusing on our youth and our adults. Our youth, I think we can benefit by building on the partnership or supporting the resources that the Waterloo schools have with the Waterloo Career Center. If you haven't been in there, I encourage everybody to go over there because they are doing a great job to provide opportunities for those students. And I think we can build on that by increasing the amount of internship opportunities to partner with businesses to directly get students in and get those businesses training young people to be a part of their business and create that employment pipeline. But then also we need to support those companies and those businesses and those programs out there that are supporting adults getting back into the workforce. My brother, he was homeless, living in Tucson, Arizona, and I moved him up here in 2019. And we went through every barrier you can possibly think of because he had a criminal history. It wasn't until we were with the Momentum program that before that program was even done, he was employed, working as a job that he had had before. So we need to make sure we're supporting those types of businesses, those types of programs.
Thank you.
So speaking of young people and education and some of the themes that you were just on, what do you see as Waterloo's relationship with UNI, and what do you see as some of the potential moving forward for opportunities there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are, especially kind of like similar to how we have with Hawkeye, I think there's opportunity to partner there. There are programs that can really help build resumes for our young kids, build internship or research opportunities for our young people. And then when people, when the students are UNI grads, that creates a direct pipeline to get people working in our jobs, get entrepreneurs investing into Waterloo, and I think we can do a good job if there are entrepreneurs, getting them into storefronts. That's going to help us economically in the end.
I think similarly, like the Career Center does, how they kind of get people prepared for that next level and get them into those college programs. And that's another thing that part of my platform is too, at the high school level itself, is the focus on that life skills training kind of thing. So when they leave high school, they already have an idea what they want to do and where they want to go. They might not know all of it, but they actually have the confidence to walk it out and say, well, at least here's what I want to do. I want to start a business, and I know where to start. I know what kind of education I need, or I know what kind of resources I need to tap into and who to talk to. Apprenticeship programs, things like that. So similar to that.
So UAW workers with John Deere are on strike as of today. If the strike continues, how would you address the economic impact to Waterloo? We'll start with you, Mr. Halverson.
Well, hopefully it doesn't take long to come up with an agreement, and that'll come to see how long this is all going to go. I think a lot of people would rather it not go longer than it has to and come to a common sense agreement and bridge that gap. I guess being in the middle of all that, being a John Deere employee and potentially sitting on the council, I can't really comment too much on that issue. But we need to come together as a community, and we need to, some of these guys, they have resources now that they need, and we can help them out, and like I said, get that put back together. It's a complicated puzzle. I mean, that's all I can really say on it, since I guess I'm in the middle of it all. I can't really,
Thank you. Mr. Nichols.
Yes, I also hope that we can find a resolution, because, people need to have a high quality of life, and we need our companies in here to know that, if you have the ability, you got to pay these people. You got to pay them. You got to support the people who work there. So what will I do to kind of help bridge the economic impact? I would try to see if there's ways that we can help make sure that these employees have other opportunities that can bridge them until a resolution is solved. Again, hopefully this doesn't last too long. Historically, it hasn't lasted too long. But if we get there, hopefully I will be able to find some ways to support them on the council.
Thank you.
How should the city deal with dilapidated houses?
So I think that there are some houses that need to be gotten rid of, because the value or the cost that it would take to bring them back and really provide value to us as a city and to the people themselves might be more than it would be to just tear the place down. So this is really important to me, as one of my main points is home ownership. There are some partnerships going on right now with the Habitat for Humanity that I think that we can continue to partner with. If those houses are still repairable, I think we can make sure we're doing that and pursuing those partnerships. If they're not, we have to find another way to go.
Well, from my understanding, there is money in the fund that's specifically slotted for condemned houses, for example. So I think that money should absolutely be used for that. If that's what it's slotted for, if we need more or less, we need to look at that. If it's being taken away, then we need to find out why we're not spending so much on it and why we still have these houses that are condemned sitting there. A vacant lot looks a lot more attractive, and it says opportunity a whole lot more than a house that's condemned sitting on the corner. I was talking to a lady the other day walking door to door, and she cleans houses for a living. That's what she does. And she's been into several places that are not kept up as far as, code-wise. And they're just in really horrible shape. And these are people renting houses, and their landlords are not providing them a place to live that's, sanitary. So that code enforcement, they need to be looked into and listen to the people who interact with them daily.
Yeah.
Can I?
Oh,
no, please.
And on that, code enforcement, that is one department that you see is not kept. I mean, there's not enough people. There's not enough people to do the job. There's not enough people to meet the needs of the city. So I think that is one place that we can do. We can make sure that our code enforcement and also make sure that the pipeline to the houses that we are able to maybe potentially purchase, that we have the resources that we maximize the resources to be able to do that. But then as we're trying to get those people, once we rehab or build a new house in there, as we're getting to those houses that we can be able to do that and getting people in those houses, I think we need to make sure that the departments help those training programs, implement training programs. We need to make sure that there's people in there that can help people know how to maximize the value of that.
Absolutely.
Over the long term.
Sorry. My niece's husband is doing exactly that. So he's a success story, exactly what you're talking about. So.
All right, it is time to move to closing statements. We'll start with you, Mr. Nichols.
Yeah. So again, I want to thank you all for allowing me to be here, to talk to you, to address you, to get to know a little bit more about me. I'm a pharmacist. I became a pharmacist because I like to take care of people. I like to solve issues. At the pharmacy every day, I am solving complex problems. I am making sure that people's drug therapy is safe, it's effective, and that it's meeting therapeutic endpoints. And I want to draw on those same values to make sure that when things are going wrong on the city council, that you have a problem solver there to aim to address those issues.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing us here and inviting us in for this event. And I want to thank everyone that's involved in this campaign for Waterloo, and again for having the conversations all across the city. I'm here to listen to the taxpayers of Waterloo, and I'm here to give you a seat at the table. And going forward, I'm not beholden to anybody or a rubber stamp for anyone. So I do go forward with this as an open mind and with my own directions and listening to people that I'm serving all across Waterloo. I do believe in common sense accountability for budgeting, security, and opportunity for human prosperity. Our solutions are local. We're not Chicago, we're not Boston, we're not Fort Worth, we're Waterloo. And our solutions are right here, and we can do this to love more Waterloo.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How long have you been with your pharmacy?
5 years.
Okay, I thought you looked familiar.